Hamburger Verein is arguably one of the most historic clubs in all of Germany. But ever since getting relegated for the first time in their history in 2018, they've not been the same. As late as 2010 they got to the semi-final of the Europa League, and were a great Bundesliga side regularly fighting near the top. After barely avoiding the drop for 4 of the 6 seasons from 2011 to 2017, the incredible run of staying in the Bundesliga since its founding in 1963 came to an end, and Hamburger Verein was relegated to the Zweite Bundesliga. Since then they've recorded 4 4th place finishes and 2 3rd place finishes, and have failed to earn promotion for 6 years running. So the task of Julian Småen is to earn promotion, win the Bundesliga, and finally win a European trophy. Julian Småen is a small maniac who always wears shorts and t-shirt, no matter the weather. -5 degrees, shorts and t-shirt. Hurricane and winds of up to 30 meters a second, shorts and t-shirt. Snowstorm and -20 degrees, shorts and t-shirt. It's a no-brainer really. He's a local lad who saw the golden days of his boyhood club, and he'll look to break the horrible run of managers who's failed in gaining promotion, and bring the club back to where it belongs. The tactic Småen will be using is a relatively simple 4-3-3 tactic on paper. But he'll be using a halfback at DM, an inverted wingback at right back, an inside forward on the left, and a target forward up front. He'll use a tiki-taka style of build-up play, and obviously the famous German gegenpress once we lose the ball. We have a strong squad from the off, so he won't be bringing in any new players this summer. Some of our better players include our captain Schonlau at centre back, Loni van der Bremt at right back, Meffert at DM, Benes at centre mid, and Glatzel up top leading the line. We also have a very promising backup striker in Andras Nemeth, who might take Glatzel's spot in the long run. And finally, we have a centre back who's suspended for 2 years. His name is Mario Vuskovic, and he can't play football until November 2024.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
The season preview has us as favourites to win the title, but we all know about the curse that Hamburg has had for the last 6 years, so we'll be looking to take it one game at a time. We've got newly relegated Schalke in our first game, so it's a tough start, but also a chance to show that we mean business this season. Not a lot happened, to be honest. Glatzel scored an offside header after 36 minutes, and Astonali missed this big chance in the 89th. But in the 94th, Andras Nemeth, who'd come on just 20 minutes ago, got the ball from Astonali. He took a great first touch and finished it into the opposite corner. The goal did get checked by VAR, but it stood as he was just onside. So we win our first game of the season against our promotion rivals, and we get the best possible start to the season.
Well, well, well. How the turntables...
The next game we won quite comfortably 3-0 against Karlsruhe after goals from Verein, Glatzel and Guilherme Ramos. Now it's time for the first round of the DFB-Pokal, and we're facing Dynamo Dresden away, a team from the level below us. We had 3 decent chances in the 37th, 58th and 65th, before they actually scored in the 70th from this insane free kick variant. Thankfully, Glatzel scored just a minute later as their goalie had a howler. Nothing else happened for the rest of normal time, so it's extra time. The only thing that happened in extra time was that Königsdörfer hit the bar with this long-range effort. So pence it is. They scored their first before Glatzel scored our first. They then scored again, and Verein missed our second. But Fernandes came up big as he saved the next one before Schonlau scored his. Scheffler then scored for Dresden before Königsdörfer scored our fourth off the post. Fernandes then saved again, and Muheim slotted his into the net to win the game for us. So we're through to the second round of the DFB-Pokal. We win the next 3 league games in tight and tough affairs. First we won 2-1 against Hertha Berlin as Glatzel and Dompe scored our goals. Hadzika Dunic then scored the only goal against Hanover before Glatzel and Verein scored our goals in a 2-0 win against Hansa Rostock. So after 5 games we lead by 5 points. We couldn't have asked for a better start, but that has come with downsides too. Ludovic Reis and Laszlo Benes, our two starting centre mids, have been injured. Reis is out for 3 to 4 months with a broken foot, and Benes is out for 4 to 5 weeks with a groin strain.
Oh, my ankles! Oh!
The 6th league game was a dull one. A 0-0 draw away to Elversberg means we dropped the first points of the season. We did hit back with a 3-1 win away to Osnabrück though, as Schata, Glatzel and Schonlau scored our goals. The next game we draw 2-2 with Düsseldorf, after Nemeth scored this incredible chip right after coming on to at least save a point. We then drew once again, this time 1-1 away to last place VN Wiesbaden. We did hit back once again though, as we won 2-0 against Greuther Fürth. Glatzel got a brace to continue his great start to the season, and after 10 games we're at the top by 4 points down to Karlsruhe in second. We're unbeaten and have only conceded 5 goals, so it's a great start to a big year for the club. With a rotated side we win the 11th league game against Kaiserslautern. We win 2-1 after Jata scored the winner in the 91st after a great attack. We're now facing Bundesliga side Borussia Mönchengladbach in the DFB-Pokal second round. They're bottom of the Bundesliga and both the board and the supporters expect a win, so we better deliver. Verein had a big chance after just 7 minutes, but he blasted it over. 5 minutes later though, Benes scored this deflected goal after some good link-up play down the right-hand side. A half chance for both teams then followed, before Kramer scored this from a free kick variant in the 88th. But it's offside, so we win 1-0 against Bundesliga side Borussia Mönchengladbach, and it's actually deserved as well.
Respect, man, respect.
The draw for the third round of the DFB-Pokal wasn't too kind to us though, as we got RB Leipzig away. That's basically the most difficult draw we could have got. We win 1-0 against Magdeburg in the 12th league game, as Glatzel scores the only goal of the game. The next game though, we lose our first game as we concede in the 87th. That's a bad loss to take, especially considering they're in a relegation scrap.
This was the no-brainer. This was the banker. This was the one that couldn't fail. This was one that's never failed.
Once again, after a poor result, we managed to hit back. We win the next game 2-0 against Braunschweig after goals from Captain Schonlau and Dompe. We're facing St. Pauli in the next game, which is a huge game. Firstly because of the crosstown rivalry with them dating back to 1919, but also because they're the team in second right now, so a win is hugely important. There was literally not a single highlight for the entire game, so it ended 0-0. I can only say sorry to the fans. But to spin it positively, we still have the same 6-point lead at the top.
Quit, don't quit. Noodles.
We're now facing RB Leipzig in the third round of the DFB-Pokal, which is a huge game for us, and we'll have to grind it out to have a chance of winning. Elmas had a big chance after 8 minutes, but he shot just wide. Leipzig then got the softest pen I've ever seen given in the 32nd, which Xavi Simons scored. Nothing happened in the second half, so we lose deservedly 1-0. But I still don't understand how that's a pen. Before our next game against Paderborn, we've got the youth intake preview. It's looking brilliant. We've got ace at fullbacks, centre-backs and strikers. Against Paderborn, we win 1-0 after an early tap-in goal from Glatzel. And in the final game before a month-long Christmas break, we disappointingly draw 1-1 away to Nürnberg. So at the halfway point in the league, we're at the top with a 7-point gap down to rival St. Pauli in second. One thing I'm disappointed about is the fact that we're creating too few chances, so I am thinking about changing the tactic. But for now I think I'll leave it as is, and let the players gel together for a bit longer. As the January window's open now, we've brought in one player. Youngster Sidney Rabiger has joined the club on loan from Frankfurt. But he's gone and broken his fucking lower leg, so he's out for 4 to 5 months. And we probably won't see him play more than 2 or 3 games, so not the best start to transfer business at the club.
Pain, suffering, depression.
We start the second half of the season in the best way possible. We beat Schalke 3-1 with a great comeback after they scored first. Glatzel got himself a brace, and Benes scored the final goal. We then smashed Karlsruhe 4-0 at home. Glatzel scored this weird goal against an outrushing goalie, and Dompe scored this insane long-range lob from about 35 yards. On deadline day, we sold Moritz Heyer to rival St. Pauli for 850k. He's not played a single game for us, so it's nice to get rid of some dead wood. A few days later, Jean-Luc Dompe decided to not turn up for training. I'd apparently made a promise to him in a contract negotiation to strengthen the team up front. But we already have the best striker in the whole league, as well as probably the best talent as a backup. But he took that very personally, and just didn't show up for training. So he won't play anymore, and I'll sell him in the summer.
Blocked! You have been blocked! You have been virtually blocked!
We just about win the next two games 1-0. First we beat Hertha Berlin after a goal from Benes, and then we beat Hannover after scoring the winner in the 79th. In the 22nd league game we draw 1-1 against Hansa Rostock. Nemeth scored for us, and Fernandes had a howler when we conceded the equalizer. As so many times before though, we hit back with a win. Benes scored the only goal in a 1-0 win against Elversberg after a great team attack. We then beat Osnabrück 2-0 as Benes scored a pen and then delivered the assist to Glatzel's goal. After that win, we got an incredible 17-point gap down to Hannover and St. Pauli in second and third. The dullest game of the season then followed as we draw 0-0 to Düsseldorf. But like always, we hit back with a win after a poor result. Schonlau, Benes and Reis scored our goals in a 3-1 win against Wehen Wiesbaden. And look at this solo goal, by the way. Fuck hell. Before the 27th league game against Fürth, we've got the youth intake, and it's incredible. We have a 15-year-old centre-back who's already ready to play for the first team. But he can't play until he becomes 16 though, so both him and myself will have to be patient. Either way, Michael Seifert is definitely a name to remember.
That is bloody lovely!
Against Fürth, Glatzel's replacement Nemeth, because of an injury, scored a brace to secure an important 2-1 win. If we win the next game, the 28th league game against Kaiserslautern, and Hannover drops points against Schalke, we'll win the league with 6 games to go, and the 6-year herd will finally be over. After 22 minutes, Nemeth scored from Okugawa's great low cross to give us the lead. 16 minutes later, it was Okugawa's turn to score, as he got this tap in from Königsdorfer's low cross. Nothing happened in the second half, and as Hannover drew to Schalke, we win the league. The 6-year herd is finally over, and Julian Nagelsmann is the guy who's brought Hamburger back to the top flight. What a season! The next game we were down 2-0 after 36 minutes, and I actually think the players were a bit hungover, to be honest. But Nemeth was there once again as he scored a brace to rescue a draw. We then won 3-1 in both of the next 2 games, first against Holstein Kiel and then against Braunschweig. Just like the derby earlier in the season, it was another dull one. We did get to see a goal from each team, and they didn't disappoint, but the rest of the game did. Benes scored this outrageous long ranger as our goal. In the 33rd league game we won very easily 4-1 against Paderborn, but in the final game of the season we somehow lost 2-1 to Nuremberg. It's a disappointing way to end the season, but it doesn't really matter. So in the end we win the league by 19 points ahead of Schalke in second. We've set a new record for amount of points in a season and a new record for number of wins as well. We only lost 2 games while winning 23. Next year I'll be looking to build on this great first season and establish the team in the Bundesliga.
Okay, let's go.
Julian Nagelsmann just got Hamburger promoted to the Bundesliga, and he's gonna experience his very first season as a manager in a top 5 league. But before that happens, we desperately need some signings. We bring in experienced winger Alireza Jahanbakhsh on a free from Dutch side Feyenoord, Van der Bremt on a permanent transfer from RB Salzburg after a very successful loan last season, and the final piece of business we do is that we bring in Nelson Viper for 9.5 million from Mainz. That is one hell of a signing if you ask me. We have had to sell our arguably best player last season in Robert Glatzel to Leicester for 10 million to make it happen though. But I think that's a very good trade.
Well, hang on, you've just...
No, I like it. This is brilliant. But I like this.
The fixtures for the upcoming Bundesliga season has just been released, and we've got Bayern at home in the first game back at the top level in 6 seasons. It's gonna be a difficult game, but what a return it could be. Before that though, we played Dritte Liga side Holstein Kiel in the DFB-Pokal. There was literally only one highlight for the game, and that was this goal from Ludovic Reis. So we move on to the second round after a 1-0 win, where we'll face VfL Osnabrück. They're the only side left from the Dritte Liga, so that's gone as well as it could have gone. The day before our season opener against Bayern, our goalie Daniel Fernandes got injured. He's out for 3 to 4 weeks with a twisted ankle, which means our backup Matteo Raab has to step in. Now though, it's time for our Bundesliga return. It starts horribly as Coman scores for Bayern after just 6 minutes. Kane then hit the bar from this header. Substitute Bakary Jatta then scored for us in the 62nd. An incredible through ball from Reis meant it was an easy job for Jatta. Straight from kickoff, Harry Kane had this huge chance, but he somehow put it wide. There were no other highlights, so we draw against Bayern in our return to the Bundesliga. What a result! In the second league game against Bochum, we took an early lead after 14 minutes through Nelson Viper, who got his first goal for the club. We had plenty of chances, including a pen which Viper missed and 2 woodwork hits. And then in the 83rd, Bochum got this extremely soft pen, which they scored. They then scored again through Oerman as we were asleep, so we lose 2-1.
I'm taking a nap!
You want to take a nap?
I'm taking a nap here.
Okay, take a nap right there then.
Good night.
Against Frankfurt in the third game, they scored their only chance, which was this pen in the 80th. So we lose 1-0. And it didn't get better against Mönchengladbach as they smashed us 3-0. Despite being in the relegation zone after 4 games, I got a new 3-year contract, so I'm gassed. But we desperately need to improve, so I've made a few tweaks to the tactic.
But I cannot see, I'm legally blind.
We can't really play an attractive brand of football as a newly promoted team, and we'll have to bide our time. So I've made Van der Bremt a wingback on support, Ramos a no-nonsense centre-back on stopper, and Meffert a DM on defend. There were some positives in the next game as we drew 2-2 against Union Berlin. Benes and Nemeth were our goal scorers in a game we might even have deserved more. The next game we only lost 1-0 to Freiburg, but we're just not creating near enough to get the results we need. So I once again decided to change the tactic, and this time the shape. I changed to a trusty 4-2-3-1 as I moved Benes up as an attacking mid instead of a centre mid, and that worked in the next game against Dortmund. Jatta had a big chance after 14 minutes, but Kobel pulled off this insane save to deny him. 5 minutes later though, Reis scored with this neat finish from a short free kick. Dortmund had only one chance the whole half, which Füllkrug blasted over. But in the 58th, Beno Gittens scored for Dortmund. That ended up being the final result as well. So we draw against Dortmund. That's a great result, and especially considering the start we've had. Now at this point, I had a big opportunity ahead of me. I decided to sell our arguably best player Laszlo Benes for 11 million to Al Nassr. And to replace him, I'm bringing in wonder kid Chanusen from Nürnberg for as little as 7.5 million. I think it's brilliant business, as Benes is aging slightly, but it could come back to bite me as we might lack experience in the side. Away to Leipzig, we actually took an early lead just 7 minutes in, but Openda equalized 5 minutes later. In the 68th, Meffert quite literally gave away the ball, so Werner went and scored. In the 76th though, Benes played this brilliant pass through to Viper, who lobs it over Gulakshi in such a graceful way to equalize. Both teams then hit a woodwork right before the end, but the match ended 2-2. is another brilliant result against a top team. We once again took the lead early on in our next game against Bayer Leverkusen. But once again as well, we had conceded not long after. And just 3 minutes after that again, Jata's got to give us the lead again. But as usual, we do something stupid which gives them a goal. Fernandez dropped the ball when claiming a cross, so we draw once again. As much as it's annoying to draw when you take the lead twice, it is a good result against yet another top side. We've picked up points against all the 4 best teams in the league, so I'm happy with that. But we also need to start winning some games, man.
I just hope we can win a game.
The next game we did win, but it's not in the league. Either way, we won 2-0 against Osnabrück in the second round of the DFB-Pokal as Viper and Rice scored our goals late on. And for the third round, we've been drawn against Stuttgart. It's gonna be a difficult game, but I think we could take it. The next game, guess what we did? We drew. 2-2 against Heidenheim in a game we threw away a 2-0 lead. So after 10 league games, we're in 16th. We've drawn 6 games and lost 4. We're so close to winning every single game, but we somehow managed to bottle it every time. Like every game except for the 3-0 hammering to Mönchengladbach has been closely contested matches which just haven't gone in our favor.
Yeah, right.
We lose the next 2 games against Augsburg and Mainz. First we lost 1-0 in a game we had 2.11 XG and Augsburg had 0.34. I think that sums it up, to be honest. We then lost 2-1 to Mainz in a game we had the lead and where Mainz scored the winner in the 88th. Oh, and by the way, Johan Baksh has also been injured on Iran duty and he's out for 3 to 4 months.
You're a donut! You're so stupid! You're so stupid! You're stupid! Dumb!
Now we'd face Stuttgart twice in the space of 4 days. First in the DFB-Pokal and then in the league. Not a lot happened in normal time in the Pokal, so to extra time it went. There, Stuttgart got a very cheap pen. But thank all that is almighty, because Fernandez saved it. And in the 119th minute, Verein drove with the ball down the left-hand side and put a lofted cross into the box, which met the head of Andras Nemeth. So we're through to the quarters. But then, 4 days later, we got smashed 3-0 by the exact same team. I think that's a good summary of our season so far. The positive thing now though is that Mikael Seifert, our centre-back wonderkid, is old enough to play first-team football, and he started in the Pokal against Stuttgart, which made him the youngest ever player in the competition at 16 years and 21 days old. And staying with the Pokal theme, we've been drawn away to Hoffenheim in the quarters, and I think we have a genuine chance of reaching the semis. The youth intake preview has also just come in, and it's looking good once again. We've got ace at both strikers and wingbacks. Against Wolfsburg in the next game, we got smashed 4-1 as they scored 4 from 1.5 XG. We are so open at the back, so I've changed the tactic once again. I've realized that the only way we stay up is if we play a 5-back. I don't really want to play a 5-back, but we have to be more defensively solid if we're gonna survive. So we're going to a 5-2-1-2 and hopefully we won't concede as many goals as we have done. Now we're facing Hoffenheim in the 15th league game and we take the lead after just 5 minutes. We dominated the game and had plenty of chances, but we kept missing. Or like here where Viper's pinky toe is offside, so it gets disallowed. The new formation kept Hoffenheim clear of our goal for the whole game, and they didn't even have a proper chance. So we finally win our first game of the season. That is so important.
Sometimes my genius is... it's almost frightening.
But against Köln in the final game before the Christmas break, we lose 1-0 as Selke scored this shite deflected goal. So when I came back from the match, the board were waiting for me. They held a meeting with me over my future at the club, and I promised them that things will improve in the next month. I genuinely don't know if it will, but I have no other choice than to say so. Now the new year has come around.
I'll sing a nursery song and then you complete it for me, okay? Twinkle, twinkle, little star,
And Happy New Year.
We brought in quite a lot of players. You already know about Benes out and Chanuzon in, but we've also sold our goalie Daniel Fernandez to Empoli for 8 million. And I've brought in Zach Steffen from Colorado Rapids for 6.25 million. I think it's a good move, but only time will tell. We've also signed former Spurs player Victor Wanyama on a free, and we've brought in Senio Van Huysten on loan from Inter. So hopefully these signings can make something happen in the next month, so that I can keep my job and keep Hamburger up. The first game back from Christmas is Schalke away, which is a must win. I'm quite literally fighting for my job here. After 36 seconds, Småen got injured, so Katterbach had to come on. But that didn't matter, as we scored after 17 minutes. Schallenberg and Hollebach had a chance each, but they both missed. And after a post hit from Königsdorfer, we win 1-0 against Schalke. That might just be the most important win ever. So at the halfway point of the 17 league games, we're in 17. It's quite bad, but we have picked up 6 points in the last 3 games, so things are picking up. And I strongly believe we can avoid relegation quite comfortably in this second half of the season. Against Bochum, we take an early 2-0 lead as both Viper and Van Huysten score from Van der Bremt's corners. But 2 minutes after Van Huysten's goal, Vitek scored this outrageous long-range free kick. 10 minutes into the second half, we score again to make it 3-1. Schonlau was the goal scorer and it was from another corner. After hitting the post from a free kick in the 74th, Chanuzon finally got his goal from a dead ball in the 89th with this brilliant goal. Bochum then scored straight from kickoff to make it 4-2, but they couldn't get any more, as we win 4-2. Such an important win.
We're gonna win so much, you may even get tired of winning.
The next game though, we lose deservedly 3-0 away to Bayern. I mean, what can you do against them, bro? But after that game, the board said they're delighted with my leadership over the last month. And I'm keeping my job. Let's go! And let's go for Bundesliga 2025-26. Ahead of the next game, I told Nemeth he had to improve on his recent performances, as he hadn't scored or assisted or really performed in any way in a long while. He took that chat and doubled down on it, as he scored the only goal in a 1-0 win against Frankfurt. Now that's how you take criticism. It's time for the quarterfinal of the Pokal, and we're facing Hoffenheim. We dominated the whole game. Königsdorfer opened the scoring, Giramos doubled it, and Nemeth scored a brace to make it 4. Bayer did score a deflected goal for Hoffenheim, but we win 4-1 and we're through to the semi-final of the cup. And by the way, it's such a robbery. We scored 4 goals from 1.4 xg. In the semis though, we'll face Hertha Berlin, who are in the Zweite Bundesliga, so we have a very good chance of getting to the final. Against Mönchengladbach in the 21st league game, we lose 1-0 as Amoako gave the ball away and Stefan had a howler as they scored this outrageous goal.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
The next game against Union Berlin can only be described as nuts. Chanuzon and Rice scored early on to give us a 2-goal lead. Union Berlin then missed a pen and scored 3 times in a span of 15 minutes. In the second half, we scored through Rice on an open goal. Jahanbach from Stefan's assist. And Nemeth as their goalie tried claiming it but failed. So now it's 5-3 and I thought it was wrapped up. But boy was I wrong. Haberer scored in the 91st and Khedira scored in the 94th. So we drew 5-5 against Union Berlin. Such a nuts game and also disappointing to give up a 2-goal lead twice.
What the hell was that?
Another must-win game is next, as we face relegation rivals Freiburg. Viper gave us an early lead, which was erased not even 2 minutes later. Gunther then scored right before the break to give them the lead. but thankfully we scored right after the break through Rice. And in the 59th, Viper scored this header from Meffert's cross. Nothing else happened, so we win 3-2 against Freiburg. That might just be the difference between relegation and staying up. Against Dortmund in the 24th game, Meffert got a straight red card at 1-0 down, so he made it impossible to get anything out of the game. So we lost 4-0 in the end.
No. Anyway.
At home against RB Leipzig, Viper scored after 48 seconds. Nemeth picked up a loose header from Raum and Viper scored his header. Nothing really happened until Leipzig got this bullshit pen where Katterbach literally tackled the ball. But Openda scored it and that was the final result. So we draw 1-1 against Leipzig. It is a very good result, but I'm just so pissed off about that pen. After 25 league games though, we're still in 17th. We have just dropped down from 15th though, and there's only 5 points up to 10th. It's the tightest league I've seen. And just to give you a picture of it, there's only 10 points from last place, 18th, up to the Europa League spots in 6th. That's outrageous. The next game we lose 2-0 to Bayer Leverkusen in a game we at least deserved a draw. We had 1.55 XG and they had 1.05. After that though, we'd face Heidenheim in a relegation derby. We dominated the game and won 3-0 in the end as Viper scored a brace and Nemeth got the final one. Before the semi-final of the DFB-Pokal, the next gen for 2025 came out, and Chanusen is 17th. That's insane, and I did not know he was that much of a talent. But that talent really showed up against Hertha Berlin. Chanusen scored in 18th, before Viper scored 10 minutes later. Chanusen then scored again in the 31st. We then gave away our 3-goal lead as Hertha scored in the 34th, 47th, 69th and 91st. What the hell, man? But we got a highlight straight from kickoff and Chanusen scored to complete his hat-trick. But Suat Sardar scored for Hertha in the 94th to knock us out. I mean, fair play to Hertha, but that's an annoying way of getting knocked out. The next 3 games we pick up 3 good results. First, we draw 0-0 away to Augsburg in a game we really should have lost. We then won 3-0 against Mainz at home. They got a straight red for this challenge after 6 minutes, so it was an easy job from there. Rice got a brace and Viper got the final one. We then won 2-1 against Hoffenheim in a must-win game to avoid relegation. Van der Bremt scored after this insane run from Nemeth, and then the former delivered a corner which Viper scored. So after 30 league games, we're in 12th. What a turnaround! We only need 4 points from our last 4 games to secure our place, and that is extremely achievable. Just on a side note, Nürnberg have just beaten Bayern in the semi-final of the Pokal. And there are 2 Zweite Bundesliga sides in the final. That means that there will be a 2nd-tier side in the Europa League next season, since neither team are getting promoted.
Sorry, what?
The next game, Wonderkid goalie Simon had an insane performance. He made sure we didn't score, so it ended 0-0. I'm very happy with that though, considering they're in 5th. Against Wolfsburg, we just about lose 1-0. We scored an offside goal and hit the bar in the 89th. But we do still only need 1 win to secure our place. An offside goal for each team was the way the second to last game of the season started, against Köln. They then took a commanding 3-0 lead in the next 25 minutes. We scored one right before the break, but they scored again in the 61st. We did bring it back to 4-3 after scoring in the 71st and 88th, but Köln then scored again in the 89th to make it 5-3 as the final result. They scored 5 goals from just over 2 XG, bro. What the hell? The last game of the season is at home to Schalke. We need a win to be completely secure from relegation, but as long as Freiburg lose away to Leipzig, we are secure even if we lose. So there's good odds of us staying up. After just 12 minutes, Viper played this great ball over the top to Nemeth, and he made no mistake as he scored with a secure finish to give us the lead. Navarro then scored for Schalke in the 64th. But Freiburg are 5-0 down away to Leipzig, so a draw is enough for us. And that's exactly what happened. We draw 1-1 against Schalke. After the finished league season, we end up in 13th. It's a decent season where we achieved our goals. Eventually, that is. And we also got to the semi-final of the DFB-Pokal. It is a good season all in all, but I did have a small hope of getting a bit further up the table, but when I think about it, it was kind of just wishful thinking. The board is delighted with us becoming an established Bundesliga team a year ahead of schedule. We're apparently an established side when we avoid relegation by 2 points. They've also given us our initial budgets for next season, and it's decent but not mind-blowing. It's 8.61 million in transfer budget and 675k in wage budget. It's definitely something we can work with. A big rebuild is necessary if we're gonna push up the table. The first signing is also the biggest. We've somehow got Yusufu Moukoko to join us from Dortmund. He's unhappy about not getting playing time there, so we only have to pay 8.25 million. What a front three we're about to have this season. Chanusen, Nelson Viper and Yusufu Moukoko. Next we bring in goalkeeper Martin van der Voort for 11.75 million from RB Leipzig, midfielder Branko van den Boomen for 3.2 million from Ajax, centre-back Amos Pieper for 3.1 million from Bayer Leverkusen, and left-back Aaron Center for 2.5 million from Paderborn. We also tried signing Jan-Niklas Beste on a free, but he decided to join Southampton. I'm not too fussed about it though, as we didn't really need him that badly. We've sold even more players than we brought in. Levin Östonali, Emmanuel Ferrari, Fabio Balde, Victor Wanyama, Noah Katterbach, Guilherme Ramos, Ransford Yeboah Königsdorfer and Zach Steffen have all been sold for 2 reasons. They weren't really cutting it anymore, and to get new players in. Pep has just returned to Bayern before the season starts, so it's basically gonna be impossible to win the league now. That's just great.
Oh shit, here we go again.
The first game of the season is the first round of the DFB-Pokal, where we beat amateur side Fürstenwalde 7-1. Moukoko got himself 4 goals on his official debut, as he started his Hamburger career in the best way possible. The season preview has us in 13th, the place we finished last year. Ideally I'd like to see us get into Europe, and around 6th to 7th is my goal. And I do genuinely think that with the summer's additions, we'll be able to pull it off. In the season opener, we controlled the game, as we hammered Augsburg 3-0. Moukoko scored twice and Viper scored a final one, so our striker partnership is definitely up and running. Against newly promoted Hanover in the second game, we scrape a 2-1 win as Viper got both. Now we bring in our 6th signing. And it's the legend himself, Toni Kroos. We bought him for 550k from Real Sociedad, and even though his physicals are quite bad, he could actually contribute, and especially with heaps of experience. And I also wanted to give him the chance to retire at the German club, as I think it's a nice touch for a legend of the game. Against Union Berlin, Kroos had to start as Reis got himself injured, but he handled it brilliantly. We scraped a 1-0 win as Moukoko scored from Van den Boomen's pass. Kroos had a great game where he ran the play like so many times before. We lose the next 2 games against Mönchengladbach and Werder Bremen. Against Gladbach we had the lead until the 78th, when Weigl scored this outrageous long shot. They then scored in the 95th to win it.
What the hell?
And against Werder Bremen we lost 1-0 after hitting the woodwork twice and scoring 2 offside goals. Against Hoffenheim, Moukoko scored twice in the opening 10 minutes. Govulsen and Biskov then scored to bring it back level. Kroos then hit a post from this free kick, but Jata scored a rebound. And then in the 90th, Moukoko scored what might just be the nicest goal I've seen on this game to complete his hat-trick. Just look at this. So we win 4-2 and Moukoko is on fire. What a player, what a signing, and what a man.
What can this boy not
do. His reputation is growing like Pinocchio's nose when his wife finds nudes on his phone.
The board are ecstatic with our form, and rightly so. So they want to give me a new contract. I've signed on a dotted line for 4 more years with 32k in wages. Against Schalke, RB Leipzig, Bayer Leverkusen and Wolfsburg, we pick up 4 great results. We win 2-1 against Schalke as Viper and Mokoko got our goals. Then we got the same result against RB Leipzig as Chanusen and Mokoko scored our goals in that game. Then we drew 2-2 against Bayer Leverkusen. Chanusen scored a Panenka pen and Mokoko of course scored again after this brilliant pass from Viper. We were 2-0 up, so it is a bit annoying to draw 2-2, but it's a good result nonetheless. And finally against Wolfsburg we win 3-2. Chanusen got a brace and Mokoko got the final one. In the DFB-Pokal second round we lose 2-1 against Mönchengladbach. It's not really a priority this season, but a cup run is of course always welcome. But after 10 league games, we're in third. We've got 22 points and we're only 1 point off Gladbach in first. What a start to just our second season back in the Bundesliga. Mokoko is also the top scorer with 11 in 10 games. The next 2 games we win 1 and draw 1. We win 2-0 against Frankfurt as Chanusen and Mokoko scored 1 each. Viper got a brace in the next game against Stuttgart to put us 2-0 up. We then bottled it in the closing stages, so we draw 2-2. Johan Bach has been causing a fuss lately, as he thinks he's not getting a deserved amount of playing time. So I've decided to sell him. So he's gone to Lokomotiv Moscow for 2.3 million, and I've brought in Morlai Silla on a free transfer to replace him. The next period of games would turn out to be horrible. We lose deservedly 2-1 against Mainz and 2-0 against Bayern as we've lost our way of play overnight. Now the youth intake preview came through, and we've got ace at both goalkeepers and strikers, so it's looking good. But something not so good is that Toni Kroos has decided to retire after the season. It's very disappointing, but I do understand it. And it is a part of why I signed him, so that he could retire in a German club. Against Freiburg we once again lose. We lose 2-1 despite having 2.23 XG compared to Freiburg's 0.8. After that we got hammered 4-1 by Köln. We once again had more XG than them, but we just forgot how to finish all of a sudden.
Lindelof has been about as useful as Stephen Hawking's treadmill. And that's before he died, and after. Useless. Absolutely useless.
Thankfully though, it's the Christmas break now, so hopefully we can come back stronger from the break. We make a few moves in the transfer window. We sell Jonas Meffer to Wolfsburg for 2.8 million as he's just not been playing this season. So it's better to move him on for a small fee than to let him stay and not do anything. We then signed Thiago Giallo for 1.2 million from Juventus. His contract was due in the summer, but we desperately need a reinforcement in defense, so I decided to pay the small fee to get him now, as I hope he can transform our defensive line. He definitely didn't transform our defense in one game, as we lost 3-0 to Dortmund. So as we've lost 5 fucking games in a row, I'm gonna have to change something. I'm changing the tactics to a 4-4-2 diamond. And I don't really know if it'll work, but I have to try something. The league table, by the way, looks like this at the halfway point. We're in 8th, and it's pretty good, but considering we were in 2nd before these last 5 games, it's horrific. The next game against Hannover, we have to win, and it started brilliantly, as we were 5-0 up after 38 minutes. Van den Boomen, Van der Bremt, Chanusen, Mokoko and Viper scored our goals. But then Hannover scored in the 56th, and then in the 67th. And then again in the 79th. But thank God, because we didn't concede again, and ended up winning 5-3 to finally win a game again. But we then lost 2-1 to Augsburg to return to our old form. Now though, we've just signed Portuguese winger Jota on a free transfer, and we're going to make a few tweaks to our tactic in order to get him into the side. And if it doesn't work out, we can always just sell him in the summer for a nice fee. As for the tactical changes, I've taken out one of the midfielders, specifically the DM, and put Jota on the right wing and moved Chanusen as a bit more of a left-sided cam, but not a winger. So it's an asymmetrical system, which I hope is gonna push us into Europe. Against Union Berlin in the 20th league game, Moukoko gave us the lead after 20 minutes with this great solo run. Vertessen then equalized for Union right before the break. But right after it, Doki scored this own goal to give us the lead again. Viper then scored in the 73rd to get us a 2-goal buffer. But just a minute later, Thiago Jallo managed to get his second yellow and get sent off.
LOL!
Fortunately, all that happened was that Vertessen shot this weak shot straight at Van der Voort. So we secure ourselves an extremely important win. We win 2 of the next 3 games to continue our good start to the second half of the season. First, 3-2 win against Mönchengladbach, where Morlai Silla scored the winner with this banger. Then a 2-2 draw against Werder Bremen, and finally a 3-0 hammering against Hoffenheim, where Jota got a brace to get his first goals for the club. Then it was time to face Schalke away. Moukoko started brilliantly by scoring a delightful chip after 17 minutes. Then he scored his second 6 minutes later. And then a third right before the break with this insane volleyed finish from Kroos' incredible pass over the top. Moukoko has just scored a first half hat-trick. What a player he is! And to top it all off, as if it wasn't enough already, he scored a 4th in the 86th. We win 4-0 against Schalke, as Moukoko scores all 4. What's this guy made of?
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Against RB Leipzig at home, we take an early lead through Moukoko. Who else? Seško then scored this 9 minutes later. Right before the break, after the whistle should have been blown, Piepers got this own goal as Leipzig got the lead. Moukoko then scored this offside goal, which Jota finally scored for us to equalize in the 74th. Viper then scored an offside goal where his toenail was offside. And to top it all off, Leipzig got this incredibly cheap pen in the 94th, which Openda converted. But there's a highlight straight from kickoff, and Moukoko scores from Muheim's low cross in the 95th. So we draw 3-3 against Leipzig in a bonkers game. But I'm starting to think Red Bull might have a few refs in their pocket, you know? Because how the hell have they got that on goal and that pen? Either way, after 25 league games, we're in 5th. We've climbed up 3 places since the halfway point, and as long as we keep it up, we'll secure European football for next season. Now we're facing Bayer Leverkusen away in the 26th league game. They took the lead from this crazy quick cross from Jelle to Reze. We then equalized in the 50th through Moukoko, but Schick scored this in the 75th to take back the lead. Jota then scored for us to equalize late on in the 87th, but once again we concede. Leverkusen took this quick free kick in the 94th, which we were in no way, shape or form ready for, so we conceded, and we lost 3-2.
That midfield has got the positional sense of a blindfolded slug trying to find a Mars bar at a Weight Watchers convention. Rubbish! Absolute rubbish!
The youth intake has just been announced, and we have a good promising goalie and a good right winger, but otherwise there's not a lot to write home about. But when we're talking about youth, Mikael Seifert has just been included in the next gen list, and he's 10th! That is crazy! I knew he was good, but that good? Fuck hell! The next 4 games we win 2 and draw 2. We start with an emphatic 3-0 win against Wolfsburg as Viper, Center and Moukoko score our goals. Then we undeservedly get a 1-1 draw against Frankfurt. They had over double our XG and we somehow went home with a draw, so I'll take it. Then we got a 4-3 win in a pretty nuts game against Stuttgart. We went 1-0 down, got back and led the game 4-1, but then conceded twice to make it nerve-wracking in the final few minutes. Thankfully, we got away with a 4-3 win. And finally, we draw 2-2 against Mainz. We were 2-1 up when Kroos took a loose touch and dived in to tackle the ball. But he only got the man, so he got a straight red. Somehow though, we only conceded once, so we got away with a 2-2 draw. So after 30 league games, we're in 6th. It's a brilliant season so far, and we're almost guaranteed to get some sort of European football for next season. We kind of actually want to get the Conference League though, if you think about it, since we'll have a bigger chance of winning the Conference than winning the Europa. but I'll obviously be very happy with both. By the way, Moukoko has had such a good season that he could break a 62-year-old record. He's currently on 30 goals in all competitions, and if he gets past 32, he'll break Uwe Seeler's record for most goals in a season, which has stood since the 1963-64 season. That says a lot about how good of a season Moukoko's had. Now we're facing Bayern. I thought this would be an impossible game to win, but boy was I wrong. Moukoko and Viper got a goal each in the first half, and Bayern didn't have a single clear-cut chance. But our sheet did get dirty, as Coman scored this in the 93rd, but we actually win 2-1 against Bayern Munich. And it's actually so deserved as well.
Curtain! Bloody love it! Put a smile on your face, get your red dress on, Sue's in the house and she's ready for fun. Get in!
The next two games we draw 1-1 with Freiburg and 2-2 with Köln. Against Freiburg, 1-1 was a fair result and deserved for both teams. And against Köln, we kind of deserved to lose, but I'll definitely take it. And we've now secured our place in the Europa League. Now at this point we had nothing to really play for, but Dortmund certainly had. They're in a title fight with both Leipzig and Bayern, so we'll look to spoil Dortmund's party. Viper and Chanusen got themselves a goal each in the opening 11 minutes. Fulkrug then scored this in the 66th to make it 2-1. But just 4 minutes later, Viper got his second of the night, as Moukoko was unselfish in front of goal. So we win 3-1 against Dortmund. What a performance! After the finished league season, we got 5th, an incredible second season back in the Bundesliga. And we're heading into the Europa League next season. Moukoko also got the top scorer title in his first season at the club with 28 goals in 34 matches. He's also 4 goals ahead of second place Seshko. Chanusen also got the top assister for the season with 12 assists. And I genuinely believe that without the poor run right around Christmas, we could have been title contenders. So if we could cut those losses from our season next season, we could actually be in contention for the title. And we've also shown that we can genuinely compete with the top sides this season. So I'll be looking to make even more progress in the league next season.
Are you sure about that?
Since we're heading into Europe for the first time since 2010, we need another big rebuild. We've signed so many players that I'm just gonna rapid fire through them. Bamba, Mittelstädt, Neuhaus, Colombo, Beck, Karabek, Acuna, Torres, Cordero, Cerdan, and finally Barrios. We've gone for a lot of youth to build for the future, and hopefully they can realize their potential. We also tried signing Emre Can, Heung-min Son, and Alexander Mitrovic on free transfers, but they all chose different clubs. Now on to the outgoings. We've sold Nemeth, Vuskovic, club legend Schonlau, and finally Yusufu Moukoko. Schonlau wasn't really cutting it anymore, and it's a truly sad day for the club. And as for Moukoko, he had a 55 million release clause in his contract, which Man City happily paid for, so he's gone as well. We'll definitely have a hard time replacing those goals. We start the season with a 4-0 win against semi-pro side Hallescher in the DFB-Pokal. Chanusen got a brace, with Viper and Jota getting the final 2. The season preview has us in 7th, 2 places below where we finished last season. I'm hoping that we can push for UCL football this season, and hopefully we can have a good return to the European stage as well. The first league game of the season and the final game for Moukoko before he leaves for England was a 2-0 win against Hoffenheim. Moukoko scored both, so we're really gonna miss him once he leaves. But at the same time, it's a brilliant piece of business from us. He signed for us for just 8 million a year ago, and now he's leaving for 55 million. That's some incredible profit. We lose 1-0 against Bayer Leverkusen in the next game, and we're already feeling the departure of Moukoko. The Europa League fixtures have been revealed now though, and we can definitely qualify directly to the round of 16. We're facing Rizespor, Lille, Rosenborg and Fenerbahce at home, and Lech Poznan, Ferencvaros, HJK and AC Milan away. The next game against Schalke was the definition of a game of two halves. Schalke ran all over us in the first half and were 3-0 up inside 37 minutes. We then scored 3 times in the second half through Chanelson and Viper ×2, with the final one being the last thing that happened in the whole game. So after a horrific first half, we at least rescue a point in the dying stages. Against Bayern at the Allianz, we found ourselves 1-0 down 3 minutes in. But 17 minutes later, Alphonso Davies wanted to get some anger out, so he tackled Viper like this. He literally jumped in from behind, so he got a straight red. We then scored the equalizer right before the break through Rice. 15 minutes into the second half, Nubel pulled off this save. And half an hour later, Kimmich scored this bullshit for 10-man Bayern. And to top it off, Bamba misses this huge chance straight from kickoff. So we somehow lose 2-1 to a 10-man Bayern side. Thankfully though, the next game we smashed Rizespor 5-1 in our return to the European stage. Chanelson, Jota, Acuna, Bamba and Torres scored our goals in the 5-1 hammering. Against Union Berlin in the 5th league game, we draw 1-1. Beck scored our only goal off the post in a game we wasted a lot of chances. And against Lech Poznan in the 2nd Europa League game, we managed to lose 1-0. We had almost double their XG, and they won with this shite shot that Van der Voort should be saving. The next 3 league games we finally get some momentum going. We smashed Gladbach 4-1 as Viper scored a hat-trick and Van den Boomen scored this insane free kick. And Viper's first goal was the quickest in HSV history, by the way, at 17 seconds.
I don't think you have any idea how fast I really am. I'm fast as f***, boy.
We then won 3-2 against Werder Bremen as Beck scored the winner in the 91st. We then drew 1-1 with Wolfsburg despite once again having nearly double their XG. After just 3 minutes against Lille, Edon Shegrova scored this to take the lead. But the rest of the game was a walk in the park for us. Rice equalized after 17 minutes, Bamba gave us the lead 8 minutes later, and Acuna, Colombo and Karabek scored the other goals in the second half. So we smashed Lille 5-1.
Encara Messi, 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 gol, 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 gol.
What the fuck are you doing?
The 2 next league games we win 1-0 against Mainz and 2-0 against Freiburg. Rice scored this screamer as the only goal against Mainz, and Colombo and Bamba scored the 2 against Freiburg. In between those 2 games, we got our asses handed to us against Frankfurt in the DFB-Pokal. Marmouche put 4 past us, and we lost 5-2.
What the fuck are you doing?
But after 10 league games, we're in 5th. It's very tight from 9th to 3rd, as it's only separated by 3 points thus far. We have been quite inconsistent so far, but we've at least started to pick up some momentum in the league now. We hammer Ferencvaros 7-0 away from home in the 4th Europa League game. Bamba, Viper, Chanelson, Beck, Jota, Beck again and Acuna scored our goals as we picked up our 3rd win in 4 UEL games. We then undeservedly lost 3-1 against Hertha Berlin before we won 1-0 against Köln in a dominant performance, which deserved more goals from both sides, to be honest. We once again scored 7 goals in a game in Europe as we win 7-2 against HJK. Colombo and Acuna got a brace each, and Chanelson, Boomen and Bamba scored the final 3. Before the next game in Europe, we lose 1-0 against Dortmund, which we deserved to at least draw. And then we won 3-0 against Frankfurt to take revenge for the 5-2 loss in the Pokal. Against Rosenborg in the 6th Europa League game, we once again had a goal fest. We won 5-0 as Acuna, Chanelson and Viper with a second half hat-trick got our goals. We've won 5 out of 6 UEL games, and are guaranteed some form of knockouts, but we still need a win in January to secure direct passage to the round of 16. The final 2 games before the Christmas break, we lose 1 and win 1. First, we get absolutely battered 5-0 against league leaders RB Leipzig. The players even refunded the tickets of our travelling fans. That's how you know it's bad. But it's also the least they could do.
And a message to the board, either f***ing shape up or get out, because you've let all the fans down. You should be ashamed of yourself, Gazidis.
We then won 2-0 against Kaiserslautern in a very routine game, to be honest. The only thing we did in the transfer window before deadline day was to bring in Ramiro Duarte for 3 million from Argentinian side Instituto. He's not gonna play for the first team for a while and will probably go out on loan for a couple of seasons. The final game of the first half of the season was a 3-0 loss away to Augsburg in a horrific performance. So at the halfway point, we're in 7th. It's an okay season, but we're struggling at both ends of the pitch. We're struggling to finish chances and we're struggling to avoid conceding as well. But the worst thing is how inconsistent we are. There are only 4 points up to 3rd, so a good run of games could change a lot. Against Bayer Leverkusen we lost 1-0. They must have paid the ref, because they scored this 3 minutes after the whistle should have been blown. And then, against AC Milan at the San Siro, Julian Nagelsmann would finally be able to face his name brother and rival Julian Nagelsmann. The stage was set, and everyone was ready for the battle of a lifetime. Yeah, we lost 4-1. They scored a pen in the 24th, and then Okafor decided to score a hat-trick in 5 minutes before the break. So that was the first battle between Julian Nagelsmann and Julian Nagelsmann. But something tells me that this won't be the final time we face him. We then drew 0-0 against Hoffenheim in the dullest game I've witnessed. There was not a single highlight for the whole game. The final league phase game would be at home to Fenerbahce. It took a long time and a lot of missed chances, but we finally scored in the 71st, through Viper. We actually dominated the game with Fenerbahce not really having any big chances, so we win 1-0 to secure our way through to the round of 16. We finished 4th with 18 points. Now, because it's been going pretty shite lately, I've decided to change the tactic. And it's quite a drastic change as well. We're moving into a 5-2-3 formation, where Chan Newson is moving up as a false 9 striker instead of being a traditional attacking midfielder. And I think it could be both exciting and interesting to see what this formation could do to our attacking play, since it's been lacking in the last few games. The first game with the new tactic was an end-to-end one. We took a 2-0 lead as Acuna and Chan Newson scored one each. We then conceded twice before the break. Colombo then scored from this incredible pass over the top from Acuna, and 2 minutes after that, Acuna scored his second of the day. In the 86th, we conceded a third goal. But they couldn't muster up another goal, so we win 4-3 against Schalke in a pretty nuts game. But the tactic does have some nice foundations to build on. Pieper got injured against Schalke, by the way, and is out for 3 months with a broken foot.
Bloody hell, it's about as useful as a hot dog at a bloody vegetarian convention.
So we've had to sign centre-backs to replace him. I already had Jonathan Tah in the pipeline, who's come in for 18 million from Real Madrid to return to his boyhood club. But we've also signed Jersino Niamsi for 7.5 million from Lokomotiv Moscow. He's an emergency signing to replace Amos Pieper. We've now got Bayern at home in the 21st league game, and Alphonso Davies continues his bad involvements against us, as he scores an own goal after 3 minutes. We then had a goal disallowed for offside 3 minutes later. Acuna got called offside despite not being involved in the play whatsoever. But it didn't really matter in the end, as Viper scored with this brilliant finish off the bar in the 33rd. And other than this post hit from Shotard in the 79th, nothing happened. And we win 2-0 against Bayern. What a performance!
Yeah, I'm a genius.
The draw for the round of 16 is here, and we've been drawn against Sevilla. An incredibly difficult tie against the arguable kings of the competition. Before the round of 16, we win the next 3 games. We win 3-1 against Union Berlin, 2-0 against Mönchengladbach, and 3-2 against Werder Bremen. Against Werder Bremen, we only scored 3 from 4.81 XG, so that's slightly worrying. And that would be the case in the Europa League as well. In the first leg, away from home, we took the lead through Viper in the 24th, as their goalie had a shocker. The next chance didn't come till the 71st. We genuinely just got outplayed here, and Ocampos scored from it. Sao then scored this outrageous long shot 5 minutes later. But straight from kickoff, Colombo scored this header from Jata's great cross to equalize. 4 minutes later though, Van der Voort came diving out like f***ing Batman and whiffed the ball. So Bade scored the rebound off of the post from his own header. So we lose 3-2 in the first leg, but it's not impossible to come back from. It's only one goal.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that? What is that, Private Pile?
Before the second leg we drew 2-2 against Wolfsburg, which was a bit of a lucky result for us. So after 25 league games we've moved up to 4th, so we're currently in the UCL spots. But it is extremely close between Bayer Leverkusen, us and Augsburg. It's now time for the second leg against Sevilla, this time at home. The first highlight didn't come until the 43rd. They handballed it inside the box, so we got a pen, but Chanison missed. Luis Mikrus then scored for them in the 62nd. 10 minutes later, Maximiliano pulled off this insane save. From the following corner, Viper flicked it on to Torres, who scored a tap-in to bring us back into it. But no matter what I did tactically, we couldn't get another. So we lose 4-3 on aggregate. We had 3.68 XG in this second leg, while they had 0.58. What the hell, man?
Well, that's that, isn't it? That's that. The only cup we're getting near is a cup of tea.
Both Colombo and Mittelstedt got injured in a game against Sevilla. Colombo is out for 4 weeks and Mittelstedt is out for 2 to 3 months with a hip injury. The next 2 games we draw 2-2 against Mainz and lose 2-0 against Freiburg. Against Mainz we definitely deserved more, but against Freiburg we didn't deserve anything. Glatzel, who's moved to Freiburg from Leicester, also scored against us. The next gen list has just come out, and German Acuna has won it! That's pretty nuts! And Mikael Seifert and Nahuel Cordero are 4th and 6th respectively as well. We've really hit the jackpot with these Argentinian youngsters, and Seifert is also incredible, and even better that he's come through our youth ranks. After 2 bad performances, we have 3 brilliant ones against Hertha Berlin, Köln and Dortmund. We won 3-1 against Hertha with our 3 strikers getting a goal each. We then won 2-1 against Köln, before we won 1-0 against Dortmund with Serdan scoring the winner in the 88th to get his first goal for the club. So after 30 league games, we're still in 4th. We have a 4-point gap down to Frankfurt in 5th, but we're playing them next, so that's a huge game. It's also very close from 3rd down to 7th, as 6 points is all that's between those 4 places. Against Frankfurt, we get beat 4-1, a horrible performance from us. And we now only lead by a point over them, when we could have led by 7. We've now got RB Leipzig. They have a chance of winning the league today, and we need to win to get back into the top 4. After just 9 minutes, Acuna scored this header from Van der Bremt's incredible cross. Chanison then doubled our lead in the 22nd, as he scored a rebound off of Van der Bremt's low cross, which Grabara knocked out to Chanison. Mikael Seifert then gave away a pen extremely unnecessary, as he pushed Simakan, who was on his way out of the box. Seshko then scored the pen to bring it back close. But just 7 minutes after that, Torres headed the ball down to Acuna to smash it home. And we win 3-1 against league leaders Leipzig. The next game, against already relegated Kaiserslautern, we win easily 2-0 as Acuna and Vipers got a header each. So it's all down to the final day of the season in terms of the UCL spots.
Wow!
The final day of the season is here, and a lot is on the line. We're playing Augsburg at home. Both us and Augsburg are on 60 points, and Frankfurt are on 59, so it's going to be a tense affair. The only thing that happened in the first 45 was that Ta scored this header at the near post from Chanison's corner. Not long after the break, Morgala scored this for Augsburg. 15 minutes before the end, Colombo scored this from Ta's shot to give us the lead again. 5 minutes later though, Rebecca scored this long shot, which Van der Voort should be saving. And 6 minutes later, Seifert got a shot deflected off him and it counts as an own goal. We then scored through Barrios 2 minutes later with this great finish. But we still need a goal. And since I went all out attack, they scored through Uruguay in the 91st. So we lose 4-3 against Augsburg, and we miss out on Champions League football on the final day. By the way, we had 3.31 XG, and Augsburg had 0.76. What the actual hell? After the Finnish league season, we got 5th, the same position as last season. But this season, we were even closer to the UCL spots. I am quite disappointed right now, considering we lost the UCL spot on the final day. But it does give us another opportunity of winning the Europa League next season. It is a decent season all in all. We got to the round of 16 of the UEL and pushed for UCL football the entire league season. We've been given the initial budget for next season, and it's brilliant. We've got 1.1 million in wage budget and 31.65 million in transfer budget. We've already done most of the summer's business, which you'll see in the next episode, but now we can bring in a good left wing back for that money. After a disappointing season last season, this is the season we go for glory. We've once again signed a lot of players. We start by making the 3 Argentinian loans permanent in Cordero, Torres and Cerdan for 21 million combined, which is some incredible business. We then sign another youngster in centre-back Nenad Terzic for 4.5 million from Partizan Beograd, before we make a funny but brilliant signing. We start by signing Robin van Persie as a coach, and a lot of you probably know where I'm going with this. We then sign his son, Shaquille van Persie, for 40 million from Feyenoord. So we'll have a father-son duo at the club, and we all know how insane he becomes in basically every FM save. So it's a big statement from us. We then sign Region on a free and another youngster in Silas Tiefenbrunner for 11 million from Dortmund. Will be a rotation option for Chanusen in the false 9 role. Then we make another huge signing, as we bring in Mikael Coyote from Fiorentina. He's come in for 53 million, moving up to 67, so it's a big investment as well. The final 3 signings were Antonis Christodoulou from Crystal Palace for 16 million, Abdurrahman Uresin for 9.5 million from Fenerbahce, and Yusufu Mokoko, who makes his return. He's only on loan though, but he's coming back from Man City, where he's only played 3 games by the way, in a whole year, so he was more than happy to come back on loan. Now you're probably wondering how the hell I've been able to sign so many players. I've sold a stupid amount of players as well. We've sold Thiago Jallo for 4.7 million, Bamba for 25.5 million, Beck for 20.5 million, Florian Neuhaus for 2.6 million, Adam Karabek for 25 million, Bakary Jatta and Van den Boomen for 11 million each, Gersino Niamsi for 7.5 million, and finally Ignas van der Bremt for 26.5 million, moving up to 37 million. Pep Guardiola has just been sacked by Bayern. He hasn't won a single Bundesliga for them during his time back in Germany, so it's only right. And Marco Rose has left RB Leipzig for a job at Newcastle, and Pep apparently wants the Leipzig position. This could get crazy. First of all, Bayern have hired Mauricio Pochettino as Pep's replacement. It's definitely an interesting appointment, and his latest club was Nottingham Forest of all clubs. There he didn't really get a lot done, and was in the bottom half the whole time, and barely avoiding relegation twice in 3 years. So it's kind of a weird appointment from Bayern. And second of all, Julian Nagelsmann has just returned to RB Leipzig. He's left AC Milan to return to the second ever side he was manager for. That's actually hilarious. And we'll get many more duels between Nagelsmann and Nagelsmann.
Wagwan Generals.
The season preview has us in 4th behind the big 3, Bayern, RB Leipzig and Dortmund. I genuinely think we could be in a title fight this season, since both Leipzig and Bayern have new managers, and Dortmund had a horrible season last season. But the goal is to at least get one of the UCL spots. We've got Bayern away at the Allianz in the first league game. After a bit of a dull game, they take the lead deservedly in the 81st, as Mathis Tell scored off the post. So we start the season with a loss. The next 3 league games we win 2-1 against Hoffenheim, 3-1 against Augsburg and 1-0 against Schalke. Our goals against Hoffenheim came from Coyote and Shaq. Chanelson then got a brace against Augsburg before Vipers got the only goal against Schalke. We're now heading into the Europa League. There we'll face Valencia, Astana, Hajduk Split and Man City away, and Westerlo, Everton, Braga and Midtjylland at home. First up is Valencia, and we smashed them 3-0 away from home. Viper and Chanelson were the two names to follow in said game, as Viper got one and Chanelson got the other two.
Banger after banger!
Before the next game against Westerlo, we lost 4-2 against Union Berlin. We had 4.09 XG, and they had 1.55, so that was pain. We did hit back though, by winning 4-0 at home against Westerlo, as Viper, Mittelstedt, Shaq and Acuna got a goal each.
LOL!
Against Bayer Leverkusen in the next game, we went 1-0 down after 30 minutes. But we hit back by scoring 4 in a row. Chanelson, Mukoko, Serdan and Acuna scored as Mittelstedt got himself 3 assists and man of the match. We conceded once more though, in the 86th, but that didn't matter and we won 4-2. Next up is RB Leipzig and Julian Nagelsmann, so it's time for Nagelsmann versus Nagelsmann 2. Yeah, we lost again. It was quite a dull game and almost scored the only goal. Acuna did have this huge chance at the death, but he missed. So it's 2-0 to Nagelsmann. And it got way worse, as Viper, Mittelstedt and Cordero have all been injured. Viper got it done against Westerlo and is out for 5 to 6 weeks. Mittelstedt fucked up his hip again and is out for 2 to 3 months. And Cordero is out for a month.
No pain. Mild, moderate, severe, very severe.
The next 3 games we struggle in 2 of them. First we draw 1-1 against Stuttgart, where we struggled to score our XG. Then we smashed Frankfurt 5-0 in a game we massively outscored our XG. And finally we lost 3-2 against Mönchengladbach and we once again struggled to score. After 10 league games we're in 5th, but we are incredibly far behind the top 4 already. We've got 16 points, and Augsburg in 1st have 25. What the hell are they doing there, by the way? So we're already 9 points off the title fight. One of you also mentioned in the comments what Augsburg were doing in the UCL spots. And well, they've improved on that as well. Going back to Europe, we took an early lead against Everton through Barrios. Everton then equalized as the last thing that happened in the first half, as Van der Voort does shite. Terzic then gave us the lead again with this header in the 77th. But Everton then equalized again, and in added time again, as Beto scored this. And I was certain that this was offside, but apparently not. So a 2-2 draw against Everton.
Are you stupid or something?
Thankfully though, we ran over Braga in the next game to get back to winning ways. Shaq scored twice and Reguilón got the final one in a 3-1 win. The final 5 league games before the Christmas break, we finally pick up some momentum. First, we scrape a 1-0 win against Mainz as Chanelson scored a pen. We then drew 1-1 against Hertha Berlin in a game we didn't really deserve anymore. The following game, we just about, but deservedly, win 1-0 against St. Pauli in the Hamburg derby, as we show the whole of Hamburg that we are the biggest club in town. And finally, we win 3-0 against both Wolfsburg and Köln. Against Wolfsburg, Viper got a brace, and Silas the final one. And against Köln, Acuna, Reguilón and Chanelson from the spot. The second to last game in the Europa before the break, we travel all the way to Kazakhstan to face Astana. It's a flight that takes at least 10 hours. But it was worth it, as we win 5-0. Viper got himself a hat-trick, and Chanelson got a brace. Shaq assisted all 3 of Viper's goals, by the way, and they were basically identical. And in the final game before the break, we win quite easily 3-1 away to Hajduk Split. An own goal plus 1 each from Rice and Chanelson made it 3. In the winter transfer window, we sell Amos Pieper to Red Bull Salzburg for 9.75 million. He's been complaining about his playing time, so he's asked to be sold. Therefore, we sell him and bring in Mike Wazowski. Well, that's not his actual name. This is. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce that. And I'm not gonna learn that properly. So I've nicknamed him Mike Wazowski, and you'll see a bit of a change to his face eventually. We then signed Weston McKennie for 12.5 million from Juventus, and he'll probably play a squad player role. This January is gonna be tough, since 5 of our youngsters are going away on international duty. Now! In the middle of the season. They'll miss our games against Freiburg, Dortmund, Hoffenheim, Midtjylland, Bayern and Man City. So we're definitely gonna struggle with fatigue.
I'm tired.
The final 2 games of the first half of the season was a draw and a win. We drew 2-2 against Freiburg in a frustrating game. We then won 2-0 against Dortmund. Chanuson and new signing McKennie scored our goals in a huge win. So at the halfway point, we're actually in 3rd. It's so tight this season though. I mean, the top 5 have 36, 34, 33, 33 and 32 points. Hopefully we can continue our brilliant form we've had lately and make a title push. Well, we lose our next game. So typical, man. We lose deservedly 1-0 against Hoffenheim. The final 2 Europa League games are next. First, we win comfortably 4-0 against Midtjylland, before going to the Etihad. At the Etihad, I had to rotate the team quite a bit, because of the Argentina under-23 bullshit. But that didn't matter. Silla scored a fucking hat-trick! And we went 3-0 away to Manchester City and Erling Haaland. So we actually win the Europa League phase with 22 points out of a possible 24. It's now time for a huge game, at home against Bayern. We have to win in order to stay in the title fight, as we're 6 points behind them. We took a very early 2-0 lead, as Shaq and Chanuson scored 1 each. The following 12 minutes, we conceded twice. Sane and Vanner scored. Limer then hit the post with this shot in the 75th, but 2 minutes later we scored again. Moukoko scored from Coyote's low cross to give us the lead again. Just 4 minutes after that again though, Limer scored to equalize once again. Kobel, Kobel then made this insane save in the 88th to deny Shaq. From the following corner, up rose Jonathan Tah to give us the lead for the 3rd time. And a 4-3 win against Bayern to move within 3 points of the league leaders.
Well. How the turntables...
You're probably wondering where the DFB-Pokal games have gone? Well, here it comes. We won 5-0 against Türkgücü München in the first round, 2-0 against Nürnberg in the second, and 4-0 against Paderborn in the third. And we've now got Augsburg in the quarters. We went 1-0 down as Bellio scored this header 13 minutes in. Chanuson then equalized in the 27th, before Shaq scored to give us the lead 9 minutes later. And in the 84th, Shaq scored again with this weird-ass goal to cement the result and get us through to the semis. The 4 next league games we win 2 and draw 2. First, we win 2-0 away to Schalke rather undeservedly. But it's so nice to see us finally overperforming our XG for once. We then drew 1-1 against Augsburg in a disappointing game, before just about picking up a 3-2 win against Union Berlin. We had a 3-0 lead, but conceded twice to make it nervy. And finally, we drew 3-3 against Bayer Leverkusen after going both 2-0 and 3-2 down. So I'll take it. Cordero also got a straight red. It's time for Nagelsmann vs Nagelsmann 3. And this time, it's actually a huge game for both teams' title chances. It was a cagey affair the first 30 minutes, and Olmo got the opener in the 35th. But straight from kickoff, and after 13 passes by the way, Rice played this insane pass over the top to Moukoko, who slotted it in to equalize it. And in the 57th, Rice scored this deflected goal, which actually got counted as an own goal for Simakan, to give us the lead. Simakan then made his night worse, as he missed this big chance, and Shaq decided to add on to the misery. He scored this insane goal from McKennie's great pass over the top to win 3-1 against Leipzig, and secured Nagelsmann his first victory against Nagelsmann. So it's 2-1 now.
And
I would suggest you don't know anything about anything.
Against Stuttgart in the 25th league game, Viper missed 3 huge chances in the space of a minute, so we draw 0-0. That means we're in 4th after 25 games. Dortmund and Leipzig have a game in hand, and it's so fucking tight, it's actually ridiculous. The top 5 have 50, 49, 49, 48 and 47 points. Now it's time for the round of 16 of the Europa League, and we've been drawn against Fenerbahce. It's away from home in the first leg and at home in the second. So away from home in the first leg, we took an early 2-0 lead as Serdan scored this screamer, and Shaq scored this header. We then conceded twice in quick succession in the 62nd and 68th minutes. So we draw 2-2 against Fenerbahce. But in the second leg, we ran all over them. We won 7-1. Moukoko, Torres, Moukoko again, Chanusson, Terzic, Chanusson again, and Serdan scored our goals in one of the weirdest games of knockout football I've seen.
That's fine.
I wanna hurt myself, yeah.
We need to win our next few games in the league to be in with a chance of winning the title. We didn't do that, but we didn't lose either. First, we drew 1-1 with Frankfurt in a disappointing performance. And then we won 4-2 against Mönchengladbach before once again drawing 1-1, this time against Mainz. Now though, it's time for the quarterfinal of the Europa. We've been drawn PSV, and we're at home in the first leg, which is kinda pain. The first leg was also pain. Benitez pulled off this big save, and Chanusson and Coyote missed these 2 huge chances. PSV then scored this shite deflected goal through Facundo Torres in the 71st, so we lose 1-0 and we'll have to do a big job away in Holland. You know how some people believe that things happen for a reason? Well, the Bible says the Lord has made everything for its purpose, even the wicked for the day of trouble. So with that logic, the Lord made Shaq get injured, so that Moukoko could come on for him and subsequently drop a masterclass. First, Benitez pulled off this save, but 13 minutes after that, Moukoko scored this heavily deflected goal to give us the lead, and right before the break, the same man scored again to give us the lead on aggregate. Just 8 minutes into the second half, we scored again, this time through Chanusson's header from Serdan's cross. And with that, we win 3-0 in the second leg, and 3-1 on aggregate to move into the semi-final.
No, they just need holy water. The blood of Jesus. That's all they need and they'll be fine.
Some bad news though is that Shaq's injury against PSV means that he's out for 3 to 4 weeks with a twisted ankle, so he'll basically miss the rest of the season. The 2 next league games, we win 1-0 against Hertha Berlin and 3-1 against Köln. So after 30 league games, we're up to second. We're only 3 points behind Dortmund in first. And we're also playing them in the second to last game of the season. It's so incredibly tight though. Dortmund have 62 points, we have 59, Bayern have 58 and Leipzig have 57. In the semi-final of the DFB-Pokal, we've got Freiburg away. Barrios scored this insane long shot after 26 minutes to give us the lead. And then, straight from kickoff in the second half, we scored through Region, just 18 seconds into the second half. Glatzel then scored against us in the 88th after this crazy Route 1 Brexit football variant. But we win 2-1 in the end, and we're through to the final of the DFB-Pokal for the first time in this save. And there we'll face RB Leipzig and Julian Nagelsmann for Nagelsmann versus Nagelsmann 4. Region's knee got fucked against Freiburg though, so he's out for 7 to 8 months with damaged cruciate ligaments. Before the semi-final in the Europa, we're playing last placed rival St. Pauli in the 31st league game. We win very comfortably 3-0 as Viper scores 1 and Acuna gets a second half brace. And with that win, we're within a point of Dortmund in first. Dortmund drew 1-1 against Union Berlin, so we've basically caught them, and we can go past them after our semi-final in the Europa. We've got another Dutch side in the semi-final, as we've been drawn Ajax. We're at home in the first leg and need a good result to take with us to the Johan Cruyff Arena. And oh my did we get that. We win 5-0. Chanusson got himself a hat-trick despite missing this Panenka pen. and Moukoko and Barrios got the final 2, to basically guarantee our place in the final. Before the second leg, we win very undeservedly 1-0 away to Wolfsburg. Silas scored with this insane solo run as the only goal. Dortmund also win their game, so it's all down to our game against them.
I have no knowledge of any of this. This is so bizarre.
The second leg of the semi-final was quite boring, as we drew 1-1 as Acuna and Hato scored 1 for each side. But we're through to a European final, and we have a chance of winning the club's first ever Europa League. We now have the biggest game of this save. It is quite literally a title decider in the second to last league game. There actually weren't a lot of highlights, but in the 16th, Chanusen scored this free kick through the wall. Imagine if a bad wall is the reason for Dortmund not winning the league. The next highlight came not long after the break. Mittelstädt got his second yellow, and we're down to 10 men. But Dortmund didn't create a lot, and only had this chance, which Van der Voort saved. So we win 1-0 against Dortmund to take the lead of the Bundesliga. Basically half the game with 10 men, and we still won.
You suck!
So before the final league game of the season, our task is very simple. We only need to avoid losing, and we're basically safe. But ideally we win and guarantee the title. We're away to Freiburg. Acuna scored an offside goal after just 8 minutes. Deutsch then hit a bar for Freiburg, but that too was offside. Not long after the break, Moukoko scored a tap-in from Serdan's pass across the box to give us the lead. And in the 71st, Vipers got a classic rolling down the shin half volley to double our lead. And Freiburg couldn't get anything past us. So we win 2-0 in the final game, and we're Bundesliga champions! We've won the first Bundesliga since 1983 for Hamburger Verein. So we finished 2 points ahead of Dortmund after an incredible 5-way title fight. By the way, we only lost 1 game the entire second half of the season, and that was the first game against Hoffenheim in January. Now it's time for the Europa League final. Such a big game for the club, as we can win our first ever Europa League title. We have won the UCL before, but that doesn't matter now. At least not for the master himself, Unai Emery.
Good evening.
We're up against Manchester City, a team we beat 3-0 in the league phase. City are favourites though, and they have an insane team, with Haaland, Foden, Wirtz, Rodri and Ruben Dias. They have Ange as their manager, after going through Pep, Ancelotti and Mourinho in just over a year. The first thing that happened in the 22nd was that our best player this season, Chanusen, got injured, so Silas has to come on for him. But he did have some serious fun against City the last time we faced them. 10 minutes later, Coyote hit the post from a corner, and Rico Lewis scores an own goal as he heads it straight into the back of the net while trying to clear it. Van der Voort then saved this free kick from Foden. But from the following corner, the Bast scored a rebound off of Van der Voort's brilliant save. Right before the break though, we scored from another corner. This time it's Terzic who scores a header at the near post. At the break I had to make another sub due to an injury, as Shaq had picked up a knock. So Moukoko takes his place against his parent club. In the 66th, McKennie took this long throw to Terzic, who took it down and squared it for Coyote to tap in from a yard. Just 4 minutes later, Van der Voort made this decent stop, and played an insane long ball, which Acuna flicked onto Silas, and he scored with a great finish to make it 4-1. Van der Voort then made a couple of good saves to keep it at 4-1. Mittelstädt then also got injured, so that's our third sub we've had to make for an injury. But it doesn't matter, as we win the Europa League final 4-1 against Manchester City. And it's our academy lad Mikael Seifert who lifts the trophy, as he was the captain in the final. What a moment! We still have another final coming up, and both Tjernøsen and Mittelstedt will miss out on it. Both their injuries are so bad that they are out for a few weeks and are out of the final. It's time for the DFB-Pokal final. We're up against RB Leipzig and Julian Nagelsmann. So it's Nagelsmann versus Nagelsmann 4. And this time it's an all-out brawl for a major trophy. We can get the treble, and Nagelsmann kind of has to win to save face, after taking over a double Bundesliga winning side at the start of the season. Seško had these two chances relatively early on, but Van der Voort saved both. And then, against the run of play, Acuna scored in the 32nd as Simakan struggles to get the ball under control. Other than this woodwork hit from Ta, nothing happened until the 95th. Olmo scored this tap-in from Nico Williams' insane pass from the edge of the box to equalize. And then another highlight came under 2 minutes later, and Schlager hit the post, so it's extra time. We dominated in extra time, but we either missed, scored an offside goal, or hit the woodwork. So it's time for pens. Mokoko is up first, and he scores. Olmo then tucks his. Silas is up next for us, and he smashes his past Grabara. Nico Williams is next for Leipzig, the reason they're here, and he misses as Van der Voort saves. Serdan scores our next one before Sambi Lokonga misses. Van der Voort stays in the middle and saves it. Mike Wazowski can win it for us here if he scores. Yeah, he missed. Lukeba is up next for Leipzig, and he has to score to stay in it. And he hits the post. We win the DFB-Pokal to complete the treble. What an insane season. And Nagelsmann also finally gets one over on Nagelsmann as he steals the trophy from his name brother. We are gonna go for one final season as well, to see if we can replicate the incredible success we've had this season, and if we could do the unimaginable, and win the Champions League the year after winning the Europa.
Oh yeah? What's about to happen again?
The last season stands before us, and we'll have to strengthen the squad to have a chance of winning the biggest trophy of them all. We start by bringing in 3 youngsters, a backup goalie in Fulvio Soliani for 15.25 million from Sao Paulo, Matthew Onana, what's my name, for 11.75 million from Freiburg, and finally Edgar Venegas for 7.25 million from Club Leon. The latter is already a leading Bundesliga player, and we will adjust our tactic in order for him to play in his preferred position. He was genuinely just found by our scouts. I had nothing to do with it. So fair play to them, I guess. We then sign a few more experienced players. We bring in Nathan Collins for 67 million from Brentford, Mark Gahey for 54 million from Crystal Palace, Victor Christiansen for 35 million from Bologna, and finally Carlos Soler on a free. We have sold quite a few guys as well. We've sold our club captain and legend, Ludovic Reis, to Alveda for 22.5 million. I didn't really want to sell him, but I couldn't give him the playing time anymore, so he kind of wanted to leave. We then sold Weston McKennie for 30 million to Al Ittihad, some good profit for 6 months at the club to be fair. And then Jonathan Tah wanted to go to the Prem, so West Ham bought him for 33 million, moving up to 38. I didn't really want to sell him either, but he wanted to leave, and it is some serious money for a 31-year-old. And the final 2 sales was Antonis Christodoulou to Arsenal for 45 million and Mike Wazowski to Fiorentina for 15 million.
so I can get
I was
ready
actually
for work
enjoying
tomorrow.
myself.
Please, why can't we just forget all about it?
That really wasn't fun.
Come on, give me a break. I'm new in this country.
Oh, man.
I had enough of this.
We start the season by getting the message that 5 of our players are going to the Olympics. So that's brilliant. But after that, we head into 2 games where trophies are on the line. We're facing Dortmund in the German Super Cup and Bayern in the UEFA Super Cup. Against Dortmund, we take an early lead through Shaq, before Fatawu equalized for them. 2 minutes later, we take back the lead, as Shaq scores again. And late on in the second half, we scored twice more through Chanuson and Shaq, who gets his hat-trick. So we start the season with a trophy. And against Bayern, they take an early lead through Sane. We then equalize, before they score again. Right before the break though, we scored to equalize again. Cordero then scored right after coming on to give us the lead for the first time. And that was it. We win 3-2 against Bayern to start the season with 2 trophies. Life is good at Hamburger at the moment. You might have seen that it's been Mikael Seifert lifting the trophies, and that is because we've made him our club captain. He's proved himself as an incredible leader at such a young age, and I'm getting some serious Delict vibes from him. The first 5 games of the season, we win 3, draw 1 and lose 1. We start by scraping a 1-0 win against Leverkusen. We then lose 2-1 against Bayern as Doku scored a winner. We then hit back with a 4-1 win against Hertha Berlin as Shaq got himself a brace. We then ran over Köln, before drawing 3-3 with Hannover of all teams. Now we're heading into Champions League football for the first time since the 2006-07 season. We're against Lens at home and I'm expecting a win. Well, it didn't really start as I expected, as we went 2-0 down within 11 minutes. We then reduced the arrears in the 19th through Shaq. And not long after the break, we equalized and took the lead within 2 minutes. Gehi, of all people, scored with this brilliant finish to equalize. And Chanuson scored this pen to take the lead. So we complete a great comeback, and we win 3-2 in the end to claim our first ever UCL League phase win.
What are you doing? Bloody mince pie defending! About as useful as a mince pie swimming through custard. Shite! Absolute shite!
Next up is Galatasaray away. It was a dull game which disappointingly ended 1-1. Özkan scored this for the hosts, and Shaq scored this for us to at least rescue something. The 2 next league games was a rollercoaster of emotions. First, we win very deservedly 4-2 against newly promoted Düsseldorf. Serdan, Chanuson, Silas and an own goal made up our goals. We then got absolutely hammered by Stuttgart. We lost 5-2 in a shocking performance. So with that loss, I thought it was time to change our tactic. We're changing to one of our original tactics actually, as we're playing in a 4-4-2 diamond. That sort of worked, but also not. We do win the next 2 league games, but only just. We win 2-1 against both Frankfurt and Augsburg in 2 relatively disappointing performances. Against Augsburg we were 1-0 down at the break. But when I returned to our old tactic, the 5-back, we scored twice in the second half and won the game. So I've decided to permanently return to our old tactic.
Should have put Pep Guardiola's team 1-0 down. Not taken, but...
We've got Dortmund at home in the next game, the 10th league game. They get a straight red after 5 minutes, as Kaki put this horrible challenge in on Shaq. But just 2 minutes later, they scored. Thankfully, we scored 3 times before the break, all of them from Shaq. But as the last thing to happen in the first half, Seifert gave the ball to Timber to score on a basically open goal. We then conceded once more, as Reina scored this long shot in the 80th, so we draw 3-3 against 10-man Dortmund. That's really quite disappointing. But after 10 league games, we're actually in second. You would not have thought that with the results we've had. But here we are. We're 2 points behind Bayern in first, as we just drew while they won. Going back to the UCL, we've got Manchester City at home now. Doyle gave them the lead with this lucky bouncing shot. Coyote then missed this chance, before Ederson pulled off this save. In the 64th, Venegas played this horrific pass back to Soliani, so Gyökeres scored to double their lead. Silas then missed this huge chance straight after, and we lose 2-0. We had 2.26 XG, while they had 0.96. That's horror.
Yeah, I hope so, mate, but every time I've seen the light at the end of the tunnel, it's usually been an oncoming train.
Thankfully, we bounced back with a 3-1 win away to Nice. Chanusson scored just 21 seconds into the game. Thuram then scored the equalizer for them 3 minutes later. But we scored twice more in the first half through Shaq and Venegas with this great finish. So a 3-1 win to get back to winning ways in Europe. We've now got into... Bluneri in the 5th league phase game. A masterclass from Karnesecki meant that Bluneri scammed their way to a 0-0 draw. The final UCL league phase game before Christmas is away to Arsenal at the Emirates. Saka quite literally ran rings around us in a very disappointing performance from us. The Englishman scored twice as we lost 2-0. The 3 next league games were disappointing to say the least. First, we draw 1-1 against Hoffenheim as Duarte scored our only goal as Noel gave him the ball.
Whoa, come on man, get a grip, you're coming apart!
We then lost 2-0 against Mainz before finally hitting back with a 4-1 win against newly promoted Darmstadt. Chanusson got himself a brace with this pen and a nice finish. Now it's time for Nagelsmann versus Nagelsmann 5. And it is once again an important game for our title chances. Yeah, it wasn't really that great. We drew 0-0 in one of the dullest games I've seen in a long time. The final 2 games before the Christmas break, we win 1-0 against Wolfsburg as Chanusson scored this insane free kick, and 2-0 against Freiburg as Serdan and Terzic scored 1 each. Now we've sold Region to Alcadia for 12.5 million as we just don't need him, to be honest. And he's obviously been out for 7 months, so it's actually a good fee for him. And with that money, we signed Brazilian wonder kid Wesley for 21.5 million from Grêmio. He's an insane wonder kid, and one my scouts actually just found. I guess that's a nice thing with a good scouting network. And in the final league game of the first half of the season, we win deservedly 2-0 against Union Berlin after scoring twice in the closing stages. So after 17 league games at the halfway point, we're in first. We've performed very well lately, and have also managed to pick up results despite not being at our best, which is a very good skill to have. It is, once again though, very tight this season, and there's only 5 points splitting the top 6, so everything can go wrong very quickly.
Yeah, also enjoy WoW, we're close now.
Before heading into the final 2 UCL league phase games, we lose 3-1 against Bayern. Wanner, Bowie and Kimmich scored their goals, while Shaq got our only goal. But back to Europe, we win 4-1 against FC Copenhagen to secure our place in a knockout playoff round. Wesley scored a brace in his first ever UCL game in a 4-1 win. We then just about won 2-1 against Monaco as Shaq and Silas scored our goals. That means we get 13th in the Finnish league phase standings. We've secured top 16 with those 2 wins, so hopefully we can get an easier draw. The next 2 league games we smash both Bayer Leverkusen and Hertha Berlin. We start by dismantling Leverkusen 5-1 as Sedan and Chanusson got a brace each. And against Hertha Berlin we scored 4 in the first half to get a 4-0 win. We've sold Carlos Soler as well, by the way, for 6 million to Al Riyadh. He's not really played too much, and we don't really need him. But that would turn out to be very false.
Very false. Very false. True. No, very false. It's so false. It's very bad.
The DFB-Pokal games have gone under the radar so far, so here it comes. We smashed semi-pro side Neustrelitz 7-0 in the first round, before barely getting past Dynamo Dresden 1-0 in the second. We then won convincingly 3-0 against Mainz to secure our place in the quarters, where we'll now face Werder Bremen. They have plummeted down the leagues, and are in the Dritte Liga now, so I'm expecting a win. I got that, but only just. Chanusson scored this pen in the 66th to give us the lead, but in the 80th they equalized. Thankfully though, Seifert stepped up and scored with this insane finish into the top corner to win it for us. I know I didn't mention it, but Barrios got injured after just 6 minutes against Werder Bremen, and he's out for 3 months with a broken ankle. So selling Soler might just have been the most stupid thing I've ever done. But we did manage to bring someone in on deadline day. We've brought in Kai Havertz on a loan until the end of the season from Arsenal, and he'll rotate with Sedan until Barrios comes back from injury. The next 2 league games we draw 1-1 against Köln and win 4-2 against Hannover. Wesley scored our only goal against Köln, and one of the goals against Hannover was this hilarious own goal.
Are you dumb?
Now it's time for the Champions League knockout playoff round. We've been drawn into... Bluneri. Away from home in the first leg, we take the lead very early through Shaq. Wesley! Oh! Shaq! Yes! In the 59th, Van der Voort comes out to kick the ball away. But he misses, and Lautaro Martinez has an easy job of scoring. But thank fuck, cause it's offside. Van der Voort then made up for his mistake by saving a pen in the 83rd. So we win 1-0 away to Bruneri. Before the second leg, we win very easily 2-0 against Düsseldorf in a routine game. Viper scored both, by the way. In the second leg, we perform at the highest level I've ever seen this team. We score 5 unanswered goals to win 6-0 on aggregate and absolutely humiliate Pep Guardiola and his super team. Shaq got a hat-trick and Chanelson got the other 2. Considering the length of the highlights. Oh, Shaq picks up the loose ball and Kanaseki is so far out. Let's go. Shaq scores again. Vamos. That's his hat trick. Before going into the round of 16, we have Stuttgart in the league. And it's a big game as they're currently in second. We score 3 goals without an answer. But in the 73rd, Weigl scored this outrageous long shot. And in the 90th, Chan Ak-Soy scored to make it nervy in added time. But thankfully, we win 3-2 in the end.
I don't get nervous, but I'm starting to get a bit shaky, you know what I mean? I'm a little bit weak.
We've been drawn against current Premier League leaders Liverpool in the round of 16. It's a very difficult draw, but after that second leg performance against Inter, we can genuinely beat anyone. In the first leg, we go 1-0 down after 18 minutes. Sedan and Viper then missed these huge chances before Acuna hit the bar in the 64th. But 11 minutes later, Chanelson scored from Acuna's pass across after Joe Gomez failed to clear it properly. And in the 93rd minute, Acuna scored to give us a 2-1 win to take to Anfield. Against Frankfurt, before our second leg against Liverpool, we draw 1-1. A disappointing game. And that draw means that we're actually still in first after 25 league games. We do only have a 2-point gap down to Stuttgart in second though, so it's still tight. Away at Anfield for the round of 16 second leg, Liverpool took the lead early on. And then 20 minutes later, Szoboszlai scored for the Reds to take the lead. Not long after the break, Acuna hit the post from a position he really should be scoring. Just under 10 minutes later though, Seifert scored this header to equalize. Nothing else happened in normal time, so we're heading into extra time. Trent hit the post with this curler in the 94th, and then we concede to Emerson Royale in the 107th. We left a sea of space open for him, and he easily scored. Viper and Shaq missed a huge chance each, so we lose 4-3 on aggregate in the end, and our Champions League dream is shattered in a million pieces. They are top of the Premier League to be fair, so it isn't the absolute worst, but it still hurts, man. But at the same time, we can now put all our focus on retaining both the domestic titles.
Well, to be honest, Jimmy, I don't think that's any of your business.
Against Augsburg in the next game, we win 3-1 as Havertz scored with this brilliant finish to get his first goal for the club. We then lost 3-0 against Dortmund in a game we had nothing. So now we only have a single point down to both Dortmund and Bayern. We then win the next 3 league games against Hoffenheim, Mainz and Darmstadt. We won 4-1 against Hoffenheim, as Chanelson scored a brace and Coyote scored this banger. We then just about won 1-0 against Mainz as Coyote scored with this great finish, basically identical to the one against Hoffenheim. And finally we won 3-1 against Darmstadt as Chanusson, Shaq and Terzic got our goals. Those 3 wins means we're still in first after 30 league games, but it's still only by a single point ahead of Dortmund, and we look set for another year of us against Dortmund for the title. But first, we're facing exactly Dortmund in the semi-final of the DFB-Pokal. Nothing happened for a long time, and the first real chance was this screamer which Mansverk scored. 3 minutes later, Chanusson scored this outrageous volley, but it was offside. Brandt then scored in the 88th to double their lead. Acuna did get a consolation goal a minute later, but it was too late, and we're out of the DFB-Pokal to Dortmund.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
We've now got RB Leipzig away in the 31st league game. A huge game for our title chances. And we have to win. It's also Nagelsmann versus Nagelsmann 6. It's currently 2-2, plus a draw, so this decides who has the better career as it is our final game against Nagelsmann's rival. It was an insane start to the game, as we took the lead, they equalized, and we took the lead again, all in the first 14 minutes. Terzic then scored this header in the 44th. And we then had a highlight straight from kickoff, and Christensen won the ball high up the pitch, which Shaq then scored this chip over Grabara to make it 4-1. And to put the cherry on top, Chanusson scored in the 61st after this brilliant 1-2 between him and Shaq. We win 5-1 against RB Leipzig. What an insane performance! And Nagelsmann has officially outdone Nagelsmann in his career. 3-2 to Nagelsmann, and Nagelsmann is washed. Nagelsmann. The next 2 league games we win deservedly and easily 3-0 against Wolfsburg and 4-2 against Freiburg. Against Wolfsburg, Chanusson, Acuna and Viper scored our goals. And against Freiburg our goals came from Chanusson, Acuna and a brace from Coyote of all people. Now it's time for the very final game of the season, and the final game of this incredible save and journey with Hamburger. We need to win to secure the title, and we're away to Union Berlin. We start by missing 2 good chances from Collins and Viper. But Viper then scored with this thundering finish a minute after his miss. In the second half, Chanusson managed to miss 3 insane chances. It could have made it a bit more comfortable, but he missed all 3. But it doesn't matter, as we win 1-0 against Union Berlin and secure our 2nd Bundesliga title in a row. We don't get a trophy lift though. What the hell? Well, we'll roll the trophy lift from last season then. We've actually won a treble as well. It's a bit of a scuff treble, but a treble nonetheless. Both the Super Cups and the Bundesliga. An incredible journey with the lost German club Hamburger comes to an end, and Nagelsmann has completed his journey with his boyhood club.